Hey guys, it's Danielle from Banning Lane, and I am here with this week's In Your Pocket video. Now I'm just starting off by showing you the inspiration piece. Now this is fun and full of color, and to me it's full of adventure as well, and so that's where I took my inspiration from. Now I'm just showing you my plan. I'm starting off by showing you my left hand side is going to be a 6x8 page, just because that's what I was working with from last week. The right hand side will be a 3x4 pocket page, and then I'm also going to be doing an insert that's just 3x8, and that's sort of where I'm going. Now the cards I'm going to be using are from Studio Calico. It's a digital product and I got it a long time ago, so I don't know if it's still available, but I will link to it if it is. What I liked about these cards is they were colorful, sort of like the inspiration piece. Not the exact same colors, but still colorful. And I really liked that Adventure Awaits card just because it reminded me of the inspiration piece. And what I decided to do was focus on one of our adventures that we took this week. So we went camping, and I could have told a million stories with camping, but I decided after seeing the inspiration piece to just focus on one sort of fun adventure that we did while we were camping, which was hiking up to these falls. I have hiked up to these falls a lot because I grew up in this area, but my daughter never has. We've never taken my daughter up there, so that was fun. So I decided to take advantage of that Adventure Awaits card and just focus on that one event. So as you can see, I'm getting my insert taken care of, and I have that square Adventure Awaits card, and I sized my photo to be the same size as that so that it would neatly place underneath that. And then I have that little space at the bottom that I wasn't totally sure what I was going to do with it. I thought about journaling there, which would have been a great option, but I decided to trim down this tag so that it would just fit in that little smaller section, and then use that as a place to add some stamping. And I'm just using this Allie Edwards stamp, and it's, I believe, in her shop. I subscribe to her story stamps, and sometimes I get confused what stamps are from that and which ones are from her shop, but I'm pretty sure this one is from her shop, and I will link to that down below if it is. Now, as you can see, that whole stamp wouldn't have fit, or maybe you couldn't see, but it said today was, and then a line, sort of a fill in the blank situation, but that line wouldn't fit. So I just put ink on the today was portion, and then I'm going to pick another word from the stamp set to sort of fill in that blank, so to speak. And there was a few different words that could have worked, and so I had initially chose awesome right away, and then I went back and forth, well, maybe I should pick a different word, but as you can see, I just stuck with my initial choice, and I got that down on my card. It looked pretty small at first, so I was like, maybe I should have maybe wrote in awesome instead of stamped it, or something like that to fill that space a little bit more, but I decided that it was okay, and I liked it good enough, so I left it as is, and I'm just getting that tacked down to my insert here, and I call that done. Now I'm working on the actual pocket portion of my spread. This card that has a ton of those ampersands in a circle, I really liked it. I had originally thought about maybe stamping in there. You can see I have a stamp set there to the right. But what I decided to do was look through some of my freckled fawn embellishment kits, and there was some circle stickers, as you could see. I've already put those on there that I thought went with the whole theme of this story, and I really liked the way that turned out. Now I decided I still wanted to go ahead and use that stamp set. It's an Allie Edwards stamp set as well, but I know for sure this one is from her stamp subscription. And so there was a phrase on there that said, "Let's be adventurers," and so I stamped it down on some white cardstock first. I just didn't want it to get lost in all the letters on that card, which I'm reading that now. It says awesome. So maybe I should have picked a different word to stamp on that tag, or maybe it's good that I picked awesome, the whole repetition theme, but either way, it's done and in the page or in the pocket, so I'm definitely not going to change it. But you can see here that I decided to maybe use the bottom of that tag that I cut off just to use some more of that color. You can also see that on that circle card, the sticker that has the arrows on it, it's that yellowy creamy color as well. So it just ties everything together a little better. And since I had room for it, I decided to cut this little strip into a banner just to add a little bit more interest to this strip here. And then I'm placing it down on that card, and I'm going to tape it down, but I'm not totally sure I want to go that direction. And so I tried a couple other things off camera, and I decided to go ahead and stick with it. So I needed to figure out what I wanted to do for my journaling. I definitely wanted to write where we were, so I decided to do that on that circle card, and then that left that white space for some journaling. Now, after I actually started writing my story down, I realized that space isn't quite enough. So what I decided to do was cut the top portion off of this card and stick it down to another white 3x4 card. So without those words on the bottom, it just left a little bit more room for me to write my story, which ended up working out perfectly. And then I move over to the left-hand side of my layout. So I'm just sticking down this 5x7 photo of me. This is right before I went into a doctor's appointment. It's not the greatest picture of me, but it definitely tells the story of what I was sort of going through this week. I thought that maybe I would use this mega date stamp to stamp the dates of this week, but I didn't think that would quite give me the look I was going for, and I wasn't confident with my stamping abilities on a photo. So I decided to go much smaller and use this Felicity Jane stamp set. Now, this was designed to use in your planner, but I've been using it in my project life. You'll see here that my first stamp doesn't work at all, and I actually had to restamp it several times, and you can tell that I had to restamp it several times, but I'm not too worried about it. I kind of like the messy look anyway. And then I just use a roller date stamp and get the actual date stamped in. And now I'm taking those triangles that I showed you earlier and cutting them out from these cards and using them to add a little bit of color to this side of my spread. The right hand side is so colorful, and I didn't want this left hand side to stick out too much. I do like that I used a black and white photo just because I think that it kind of fits the story, but adding a little bit of color I think was a good choice. So now I'm going to finish up this side of my insert. I am using another Allie Edwards stamp, and I know that this one is from a story kit as well. I'm using the phrase that says the story of this tough day, and I'm just testing it out on a piece of paper here because I haven't used this stamp before, and I want to make sure that it's going to stamp somewhat cleanly. I am definitely not the greatest stamper in the world. My stamps actually usually don't look perfect at all, but I definitely want to make sure that you can read the words, which you obviously can. So that turned out good. And now I'm going to take some more of these triangles that I have been cutting out and put them on this insert as well, just to add color to this and also just to, again, bring the repetitive thing. I'm using similar shapes, similar colors on everything, and that makes for a nice cohesive spread. And so I'm just getting them cut out. I'm just going to use a couple of them on here, and you'll see here I fuss with them quite a bit. I can't get them quite right. But as soon as I'm done with that, you'll see that I will draw several lines on this insert and write my story down. So I've had difficulty ever since I started Project Life, including myself into my stories each week. And I even have a hard time including my husband. It's mostly stories that we do as a family or just about my daughter, which I think is probably typical for any mother. But I think it was easy to include this story in this week because it was so in your face. I had a lot to deal with, and I had a lot going through my head. And I definitely think that those stories are important to tell too, especially in a Project Life album where it sort of is documenting your everyday life. And I've never been one to shy away from the tougher stories. I just typically don't tell the tougher stories that are my own personal stories. I usually shy away from documenting those, which I should definitely become better at. I think it would be, almost therapeutic to get those down on paper probably. What I'm doing here is I used these Freckled Fawn stickers on the right hand side, and so I'm trying to find a way to use them on the left hand side, but it just doesn't end up working out. I took my insert over to my sewing machine and I stitched a couple lines in it just to add a little bit more interest. And then from here, I am calling this spread done, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. I just have to get this into my album, which I am doing here. And as you can see, I have a pretty empty album. I was at sort of the halfway mark of the year, and so my first album was full, and so I got to switch to a second album. I'm usually a 2 album a year girl, and It's always exciting to start a fresh new album. So I just wanted to thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to the Crafty Maven Facebook group and check out all the inspiration that is going on there. And I will link to all of our social media sites down below so you can check there for any of that information. And hopefully we'll see you all soon. All right. Bye-bye, guys.